patients. So we attend a 4-year medical school. We do professional degree. Good if you go to the doctor and you're worse. The second thing is we look for the cause to the condition, and then we want to listen to what nature is telling us. So observation is very important. So our bodies are smart, they're intelligent, they know what they're doing. It's our job to interpret them and to understand and be respectful of the process and try to make the interventions that engender health. And so it encompasses all the things like, mind, body, the spirit, the physical, all those things are so connected. And so we want to educate and to teach. The meaning of doctor in Latin, docere, means to teach. Physician actually means nature. So we take those things very seriously in how we govern, how we approach, health and wellness with our patients. And then there's the therapeutic order, which is sort of the model that we follow on how we help people to become well. And the first thing that is the jumping off point for that, after you take a really good thorough history and physical and do your pertinent lab testing and things like that, is that we address what used to be called dietetics. And it's an old-fashioned word, but it basically means that you have to get the ingredients and the nutrition that you need to be healthy, and you need to avoid the things that take away your health. So things like trans fatty acids, or hydrogenated oils, or your food allergies, or coffee, or alcohol, or whatever it might be. You want to avoid those things that take away from your health. And at the same time, you want to be able to feed your body with the nutrients that you need. Now, it's one thing to take it in. There's another thing to digest it and break down the food properly, and to be able to absorb it in the proper form, and to be able to eliminate waste product. The immune system literally begins in your gastrointestinal tract. All the waste products from digestion and absorption become your special forces to fight the things that are trying to attack your body. So things like butyric acid. I mean, everybody hears about gut flora nowadays, and the human biome, which is a big NIH study. So, I mean, this is stuff that we've known for hundreds of years, but now it just goes mainstream. But it's very important to have a very strong digestive tract. And then we move into things like, detoxifying and cleansing the liver. One of the key components of naturopathic medicine, which is not new, it's very old, is that your blood needs to be healthy. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we're just looking at CBCs and white blood cells, but we're looking at the overall health of all of the components of the blood, which you can do with very high-powered microscopes, where you take a picture of the blood and you can see whether there's inflammation in the blood, or if there's parasites, or if there's adrenal fatigue, or if there's a pale anemia or things like that. So by looking at the whole blood under these high-powered microscopes, you can really determine a lot about the health of an individual. And then when we cleanse the liver, and we clean up the diet and cleanse the liver, then we can take another picture of the blood and show how much better the blood is. So in the old days, in the 1800s, you went to a physician that does what I do, and they would say, oh, you're depressed? Oh, you have dirty blood. Let's clean your blood. Because all of those toxins are, accumulating in your brain and preventing your neurotransmitters from, firing right and doing the effect that they should. So that would be an example. So there's a very famous book written by Dr. Tilden, who was actually a medical doctor, who talked about toxemia. And toxemia literally means poisons in the blood. Now, of course, the Oriental philosophies and they were ahead of this by thousands of years. Many of the herbs, there's a whole section of herbs in the Chinese pharmacopoeia that's called clean blood and toxins, or clear heat and toxins. So it was the same principle, but they talk about it differently. So anyway, so I went to naturopathic school, and I graduated there in 1992. I also did a double degree where I went to the Oregon College of Oriental Medicine and studied Oriental medicine and Chinese herbology and acupuncture. And then in '93, I went to China and worked in Harbin, the Heilongjiang College of Traditional Chinese Medicine, which was a teaching medical school / hospital where, I got to work side by side with, famous doctors in Chinese medicine and internal medicine, which is all Chinese herbs. So that was a very good experience. I've run my practice since 1992. I've been here in Alaska for I think like 24 years, and I've been practicing medicine, I believe, for 27 years. So I would say that most of my practice circulates around Oriental medicine and those principles. And I combine the old-fashioned naturopathic and nature cure vitalist medicine approaches. There's a split in our naturopathic profession now, and especially like in Arizona and and other states across the country, where they're really losing our medicine, and it's because of all the pressure to go mainstream. And so a lot of the tenants and a lot of the old practitioners that really embrace the medicine, they're gone now. And so a lot of these new folks just never had the teachers. And so, like it or not, you're looking at what we used to call elders. And so, yes, I'm getting old. To talk I probably have a very interesting story about how I met Dr. Chen. Which brought me into Sunrider in the first place and led me to meet Bill and Jackie back then, as I was studying in college, and I really involved in the martial arts, and so I was studying jiu-jitsu. And I remember being in the wrestling room, which was sort of a meeting place for all us martial arts types, and there's about 40 of us in the room, and we're all just working out together, and we'd all just choose a section of the mat, and we'd all just do our own thing. And I'll never, ever forget when Dr. Chen walked in the room. He was wearing a traditional Aikido hakama, which is sort of like, it looks like a black skirt. And when he walked into the room, it was like almost a moment of silence where everybody just stopped what they were doing, and their attention just sort of migrated over to the doorway where Dr. Chen walked in. And it was like he just flowed into the room. And, so everybody just felt his energy and felt his chi, and acknowledged it, whether they knew it or not, and then just sort of returned to their workout or whatever they were doing. Well, my instructor at the time was, extremely popular and very talented and, sort of famous among the martial arts types. And so Dr. Chen and him ended up working out together. And so the three of us that at that time were working out together. And I remember Dr. Chen, who was doing his rolls, he just would roll and he wouldn't even touch the ground. He'd just sort of spin in the air. And, I'm not that good. I can do really good rolls and roll from 12 feet or 15 feet, but, I can't, I always have to hit the ground. But Dr. Chen would actually twirl right in the air, and he was just amazing. So I never forget, because he hit my instructor, David, and he hit him with a kick to the face, knocked my instructor out, and then caught him before he hit the ground. And so me, being a young, impressionable student, is just sitting there with my, my mouth hanging open and going, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And so certainly it taught David a lesson, because, he was a little cocky, he was arrogant, he was very good, and, special forces and all that kind of thing. So anyway, what happened then is we ended up spending some time in the spa area of the gym, sitting in the sauna with Dr. Chen, and, sitting in the hot tub and just discussing with him you know, the things that he was doing, which was what he was first talking about, was what was going to become Sunrider. And he was there studying, he was doing a PhD in biochemistry. And so I was just really nervous and didn't know what to say, because, you know, here I am sitting, you know, right beside this guy that's this master of Aikido. And so I was very, you know, reserved. But David had no problems talking to him, and so we learned a lot about what he was doing, and he started talking about his products. And so I think that was about, you know, 1982 or somewhere in there. And then one time David and I went downtown to the store, and this store was just a little small shop, little herbal shop that was actually grew into being one of the large natural products companies. And there under the glass counter was some of Dr. Chen's liniments, and Dr. Chen was behind the counter, and he was saying, well, you know, this is my liniment. And then he was talking about what became the quinary. And but I was very interested in the liniments he was using, because in martial arts you're always bruised up and hurting, and you know, it's nice to put something on topical that actually does the job. So I'll never forget being in that little store, but I really had no interest in nutrition. I really had no interest in anything more than just what would help me with my martial arts. So after I graduated school, I moved down to Arizona to continue my work with martial arts and go for my black belt. And so I would work night shift at a psychiatric facility. And then every morning I would go to the gym, and I would work out for about 2 to 4 hours. And I worked out with some really good athletes. And I was very strong. But, you know, I had this roll, this tire around my midsection. And, you know, I just, you know, was frustrated because I just couldn't get that lean, chiseled look. And so one of the guys that I worked with was a Golden Gloves boxer, and he was a black guy, and he was just chiseled, just an incredible build. And he looked at me, he said, Dan, you know, it's not your workout that's affecting you, it's your nutrition. You need to eat better. And you know what? You need to start investigating some of these things that, you know, some blender drinks and some things to help you be healthier as far as your diet and nutrition, because that's your problem. And so, you know, it really hit me. I thought, wow, I should check into this, because it was brand new to me. So in that, I think it was on Mesa Drive or something in Arizona, this gym. And so when you go into these gyms, they have these bars where, you know, you can, you know, get juices, and they're selling their products and all those supplements and all those things. And, you know, you can walk out of there easily and spend $200-300. So anyway, I stopped in at this bar, and I was talking to the people behind the bar, and they showed me their blender drink, and they showed me their supplements, and they showed me all these things that they suggested that I would do. And then the price of it would be like $300 or something. And I was like, whoa, I can't afford that. You know, this was a very good conversation, but thanks, but no thanks. So then fast forward, you know, a week or two, and I was going into the Gentle Strength Co-op. I don't know if that's still there, Jackie, but the Gentle Strength Co-op. And then right there on the bulletin board, David and I, when we were walking in, we looked at this flyer, and it had a picture of Dr. Chen on it. And this was a couple years after I had first, you know, been introduced to Dr. Chen. And it was a flyer from Bill and Jackie to contact them about, you know, Sunrider and good, healthy nutrition. Well, Dave looked at me, I looked at him, we thought, well, I don't care what this is about. If Dr. Chen's embracing it, I guess we got to check that out. And so, long story short, I went and met with Bill and Jackie in their front room, and there was a little box that was this big, and it was $135 a month, and it contained the quinary and some Fortune Delight and some Cali and some Sunbreeze and some stevia, I believe. And I remember sitting there looking at that box going, wow, that's a pretty small box for $135. But needless to say, we signed up right there, and it was the best decision that I had made in regard to that. And my wife, at the time, she was a hockey player, and she had trouble with her weight, and she started using the products. And within 6 weeks, she trimmed up and dropped all that weight she was carrying and looked lean and mean. And I was seeing the results that I needed to see. And then it was all about me calling my mom and dad long distance in Canada and say, you know what, you got to check this out. This is great. To which they were somewhat resistant, saying, oh, that's very nice. Yeah, we've heard about multi-level, and there's Amway and Shackley and all those things. I'm going, Mom, Dad, this is different. So Jackie could probably relate to some of that, but my mom and dad fully embraced Sunrider, and my mother became a monster in Sunrider, and it changed all of our lives because of it. So they had opportunities to learn about health, to travel the world, and to, you know, make a little money in addition to that. So so some of the products that I use, I mean, I don't want to spend too much time, but the products I use, I always use the quinary. The quinary is just amazing. You know, it's based on the 5-element, and there's a little thing here I can just share on my screen with you a little bit. Let me know if you see this. Can you see that? Thumbs up. Okay. Yeah. So this is basically 5-element.
Yeah, we can see it.
And, you know, so, you know, I always embrace the quinary. And this is a very unique concept. It provides the basis for some of the traditional Chinese medicine framework for how we practice that medicine. But the actual study of 5-element is lost. And I was telling Jackie the other day, traditional Chinese medicine, which is how we practice Oriental medicine in China and in the West, is really what the Chinese government decided it should be. So China is a huge country. When you look at the map in China, all you see is China, and it's huge. And so what they did is they took bits and pieces of Oriental medicine that had been traditionally passed down for generations, and they put it all together and said, this is what we're calling traditional Chinese medicine. So the net effect is you have this hodgepodge of different ways of working that have no symmetry. They don't line up very well, and it's disjointed. So what is really the actual thing is what we call classical Chinese medicine, and these are medical. It's a medical system that's been passed down for generations, and usually father to son, or you know, mother to daughter, or whatever, through their family lineage. And so there's a lot of understanding on how the herbs work together with the acupuncture points that they use, and there's a lot of interconnectedness to it. And it incorporates diet and nutrition along with things you do medicinally to deal with the different things that you deal with as life progresses. So that is what is so unique about Dr. Chen, is because he had things written on jade tablets, which is very ancient, and they were handed down to him. I just saw this video on Zoom where it goes through Sunrider, a little bit of background, and you see his kids talking on Zoom. Jackie can give you that link. It was very good. You know, historical perspective on Dr. Chen and what that was. But the knowledge that he brings to the world, he's sharing, is a family legacy. And not only did it work firsthand for him and his family, but it's worked for, you know, thousands of other people who have embraced this product. So when you eat healthy foods, you are well. You can be healthy just by eating properly. Your bodies are basically a summation of the air you breathe, the water you drink, and the food that you eat. So it's very important to eat well. And so when you use foods in a more concentrated format, in Oriental tradition, you can start manipulating foods and herbs and things to make it actually medicinal. But the way Sunrider is set up is for whole foods. So if you eat right, you will be healthy. And that is found, at least I found that to be true in my 27 years of practice. So anyway, quinary is very important. I use that all the time. I never go without it. I always use Kali tea. I could talk a whole lot about just how important Kali tea is, but I'm drinking it right now so that I know what I'm saying to you. But it's very powerful. And now everybody's embracing green tea. Green tea has catechins in it. They protect you against cancer. Literally, there's research showing that 10 cups of green tea is anti-carcinogenic, So green tea, the tradition of the making of Kali is phenomenal, and it's very, very unique, and just sets the standard for the way teas should be made. And that was Dr. Chen doing that. His Fortune Delight, I think, is one of the most common selling teas in a powdered form that is in China today. And I mean, that's saying a lot. There's a lot of people in China and a lot of tea. So the fact that Fortune Delight does so well, I use that when I'm working out. I use it in the afternoon when I'm starting to drag and need a little energy. Sometimes I mix Fortune Delight with Kali, and I don't know who coined the term, but it's called Kali Delight. And so that works really well for me. I always drink New Plus. New Plus is phenomenal. There's different kinds. There's the ones with the soy, the Simply Herbs. There's some new protein type oriented drinks, but I just use the old-fashioned regular New Plus, and that feeds my 5 elements, and then that keeps me healthy. One of the things that happened when I went to medical school largely because of Sunrider, and when I got to Oriental Medical School, I asked them about eating 5-element nutrition and spiraling to perfect health. They had no idea what I was talking about. And I learned through that school that they study the 8 principle approach. There's only one school that teaches 5-element, and it's not anywhere near as wonderful as what Dr. Chen shares. So there's also the Ease, the Top Joy and Ease. I can't say enough about them. I use Ease all the time, Top and Joy as much as I can. And then, I put that together with, sometimes I use, I believe it's Metashaper. I really like the fact that, VitaTaste, it used to be called VitaTaste, VitaCaps, Vital Caps or something. Anyway, you mix that with the Fortune Delight and it accelerates your free fatty acids away from the triglycerides. And so that basically burns fat and, in a healthy format.
That's called action.
Anyway, I don't know how many time's going. Am I done?
No, I was just saying that's called those are the new action caps now.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. He reformulated it.
Yeah. So that is just wonderful, and it's unheard of. I think we have a weight problem in America. There's a lot of reasons for that, and one of the main things is diet and nutrition. There's some other things about all the chemicals and the glyphosates and the pesticides and all the things that we're exposed to affecting our thyroid and our glands in general. But, we have a weight problem in America, and nobody even talks about how wonderful it is to accelerate free fatty acids that are bound to a triglyceride, which means there's 3 fatty acids hooked onto a glyceride backbone. And so you accelerate that off by using the action caps, and then they are used as energy, or they can be processed out using the Fortune Delight and urinated out, and then they can be restored as storage as well. So it's just accelerating a natural process in the body. In Oriental medicine, they are just masters of observing. I mean, Shen Nong, who was an herbalist back, I can't remember what dynasty he was in, but he had a whole entourage of people following him as they would taste every herb in the garden. And they would say, this is a sweet herb. It enters into the spleen meridian, and they would write all these things about. I mean, can you imagine tasting every herb in the garden? Just go out in your own garden. I mean, there's probably 50 things in there. Try just tasting that and categorizing it. And they did it for, like, 5,000 herbs. Just amazing information in the Chinese pharmacopoeia. So Oriental medicine has got it all over mainstream medicine. I mean, they have been doing it longer, and they're more respectful. There's another picture here that I was going to bring up real quick. Called, the body is a machine, and versus being a garden. So let me share that real quick. I'm not as good as my brother doing this. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is I hope that thing's not in front here.
Yeah. So in the West, we've got the machine. In the East, we've got the garden.
Right. And so the idea of being in the West is from 17th century Descartism, which, the body is a machine. So if you have a problem with your knee, you take it out and you put another one in. Now, in medicine, it's not like they don't understand that and don't know how to do that. They choose not to, because they really respect the way the body works. I mean, they were doing brain surgery way before. They were bleeding ting points when, mainstream medicine was bleeding people to death in Europe. So, I mean, they've been way, way ahead. Here's another one that, can you see that? Yes. Yeah. Wow, I did that good. So this is a little bit more of an artistic rendition of that. But I think it's very important to realize that your body is a finely tuned organism. And so by using the Sunrider foods, it feeds your body on all different levels, even levels we don't even understand. And it does it in a holistic way. There was work by Dr. Lee way back in the 30s where he took two groups of rats and he induced scurvy. And he wanted to test all this brand new substance that all his buddies who were scientists, and they had joined the brand new pharmaceutical industry, and they were all about ascorbic acid. And so he took two groups of rats and absorbed and induced scurvy, which is, vitamin C. It's what Columbus had on his ship coming to America. They had scurvy, which is vitamin C deficiency. And so in the one group of rats, he gave brand new pharmaceutical grade ascorbic acid. And within a week, those rats were better. In the other group, he gave them lime juice. And within an hour, they were better. Mm-hmm. So from there, he determined and set up his whole life's work, proving that nature does it better. And so if you want to absorb vitamin C and ascorbic acid, you eat an orange or eat the food that has vitamin C in it, because it has all the factors that nature put in there. It has the selenomethionine and the bioflavonoids, as well as the ascorbic acid. So your body's going to absorb 98% of the ascorbic acid versus 2%. So that's just an example. So in Oriental medicine, and especially in the Sunrider foods, there's such a symmetry to the way that those foods are formulated. And they're formulated in the best way that you can possibly. I mean, if I could put everybody in my practice on Sunrider, I would. In fact, I suggest it to everybody. But, people get hung up on, it costs money and all that. And you know what? It doesn't. When you go out to the health food store, you look at what that stuff costs. And I can guarantee you it all comes from the same place, and it's just got a different label. And guess what? The people that are selling it, they don't even have a say in what they're going to blend together anymore. It's the industry that's telling them, we have this blend. So you can't even say, no, I want to put this, and this in my supplement. And if you do say that, you're treated as if, oh gosh, that's a problem client, because we got to change the stuff that's available to put into their capsules. And who's doing all this stuff? It's the pharmaceutical industry. Who has the companies that pop out those pills red hot with excipients and flowing agents and all the junk that's in it. And the tailings of company A become the pre-run of company B. You don't even know what's in the stuff. And they all just have a really cool label. That's not the case with Sunrider. And I mean, look at that little YouTube video and you'll see the high-tech, wonderful, wonderful equipment that Dr. Chen, not only, like, he designed it. You know, that's brilliance. I mean, think about just making sun bars. Think about how you have to make a sun bar. That's amazing. So not to mention the Kali and the the quinary, you know, alpha-20C, all those kinds of things. So with that, I think I'll just end there, and then I probably do better just fielding your questions. I don't know how our time is going, but
You're doing
I
great.
have a question.
Go ahead.
I think I have a question.
Can you say your name first?
Yeah, my name is Amanda, and I'm new to all this. In fact, just haven't really gotten started, kind of just learning about everything. With Sunrider, I've actually mentioned it to quite a few people, and as a caregiver, I haven't really used it a lot myself, but when I have used it, for instance, like the Sun Breeze is probably my favorite of everything that you guys offer. It would be the Sun Breeze. I think my question is, building the immune system, how does the Sunrider help build that immune strength? Like, versus, like, when you get sick, your immune system strengthens as your body fights it off, correct? So when you feed your body goods to, like, does it still strengthen your immune system feeding your body with the good stuff as opposed to feeding it, you know, letting it naturally fight off the bad stuff and building the immune system?
Okay, thanks for your question, Amanda. Go ahead, Dan.
yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's very good. First of all, like, I really appreciate that you really like the Sun Breeze, because that, you know, that was the thing that got me really started. So that's really excellent. It's very powerful. But yeah, you're exactly right. Your immune system is very responsive to the foods that you eat, and takes 60% of your energy to digest what you just ate. So if you're having a big, it's going to take a lot of energy to digest that and break that down. So if you're eating, say, foods that your body has a hard time with, and you have a problem digesting them, then it's taking all that energy to digest it and utilize it. In addition, if those foods aren't absorbed or broken down in a proper format, then they end up in the bloodstream as what we call antigens. And so, like, for example, dairy products, we don't digest the caseinate and lactalbumin that occur in cow dairy. So that food ends up in your bloodstream as a whole protein. So your body's immune system sends antibodies to attack that. And so if your body's always generating antibodies to attack antigens, which are the bad guys that are swimming around in your blood, then your body is spending all its time attacking that instead of protecting you against, you know, seasonal allergies or rheumatoid arthritis or Crohn's disease. So it's very important, regardless of what immune disorder you're treating, whether it's a viral infection or if it's a rheumatoid arthritis or a lupus or migraine headaches, that you have to address diet first to free up your immune system, and then you use things that stimulate the production of good, healthy immune modulators, we call them. There's this term, I really like it, called adaptogen, where you take certain herbs like, you know, alpha-20C is loaded up with them, the dandelion root, for example. But herbs.
Oh, I love dandelion. My body is always high energetic, and I have a really high blood pressure. I'm a really small girl. I'm probably 5 foot, 100 pounds, but my metabolism works super fast, and I wake up in the morning and I'm really groggy, but once I wake up, it's like my energy never dies. Like I keep going and going, and I want to be able to slow down. How can I do that? How can I slow my metabolism down to slow down my energy so that I can think better?
Right. So with Sunrider, what we're talking about right now is just good, healthy nutrition, and you're asking questions that are probably getting into the medical realm. So,
Okay.
somebody
Okay.
would have to
Oh yeah.
check your blood and, make sure that your thyroid's working right and that all those things are working right. And then,
Okay.
you want to avoid things that are overstimulating. So in Oriental medicine, they would call you yin deficient. You have too much yang. Yang is, too much energy. Yang is classically what you just described. So what you're deficient in sounds like is, and I'm being very general here, is what we call yin deficiency. And yin provides all the rest and relaxation, the calmness of your mind, being able to sit and watch the clouds go by. So in Oriental medicine, they would give you yin tonics. So an example of a yin tonic in Sunrider is the Eleutherococcus, the American ginseng that they have. And so they always like, the Chinese always like American ginseng because it calms them down. In China, you'll walk by somebody who's just sitting there, and you look at them and what they're doing, and they'll look at you and go, I'm just being, right? Well, Americans, they want red hot Chinese panics ginseng, which makes them run really fast.
I want to slow down.
They're all
I want to slow down.
Amanda, you can give Jessica your email, and we can send you a document on the yin foods and the yang foods in Sunrider. Okay?
Okay, yeah, she has my email, so.
Okay, can you mute yourself?
Awesome.
Somebody
Thank you.
else can ask a question.
I'm sorry?
Mute yourself so somebody else can ask a question, because we've got...
yeah, go ahead. That's all I had. Sorry. Thank you.
Amanda. Anybody else have a question? If you want to unmute yourself, if you go to where you're...
Okay, I got it. Just real quick, not really a question, but you mentioned adaptogens. Made me think of this book that I have.
Yeah.
Adaptogens.
Is this
Are you a herbalist?
Yeah. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
what was the question?
Is this Trisha?
Yes.
Go ahead, Trisha, ask your question.
No, I was just telling him he mentioned adaptogens, and I have a book all about adaptogens. I just wanted to show him.
Oh, I can't see.
I think I listened to you speak at a previous Zoom meeting.
Maybe.
About herbalism.
Yes, I'm an aspiring herbalist.
Yeah, that's great. Wonderful.
Yeah. One more thing. I just wanted to let you know, the thing I like about this book is it compares traditional Chinese medicinal herbs, Ayurvedic herbs, and Western herbs, and it lets you know if there's a correlation. So I really like that. But thank you for all your information. It's good stuff.
Great. Yeah. My pleasure.
Does anybody else have a question for Dan?
Well, I don't have a question. Jackie, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Kathy.
I just wanted to thank him, and I loved his story, and just to let you know, I'm 100% with the Chinese medicine. I studied it in 2008 to about 2012 at Southwestern Institute of Healing Arts. And at that time, it wasn't connected with Sunrider, of course, but the two married each other in my heart. So I'm totally on board with the Chinese medicine that you're talking about. I appreciate you.
That's great. Thank you.
Dan doesn't like to brag about himself, but he's the one that originally set up the pharmacy at the Southwest Institute. Is that correct?
Oh, really? Oh, my goodness. That's wonderful. Did you know any of the teachers there?
Yeah, but they're probably not there anymore.
Right. Well, back in 2008, when I took the classes, I had Joel Senior. Had you heard of him? Chinese medicine. They don't have that anymore up there, but
Yeah.
he was my teacher. He was like a shaman. He was wonderful. He did it on his own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan, you want to, I know Dan doesn't like to brag about himself, but can you tell everybody which products you use when you're doing your martial arts?
So I really like Nu Plus before and after I work out, because it really helps you to regenerate after you work out. It's just wonderful. So, I mean, it helps you to function better during your workout. So I like to do it about, about 45 minutes before I work out. You want to allow a little bit of time because there is some diuretic quality to Nu Plus that helps you cleanse. And so you want to, do it about 45 minutes before you work out. And then I like to get it, as soon as I get home, I like to have a Nu Plus afterwards. And of course, I always put the stevia in there. Stevia is very important. And the stevia, I mean, Dr. Chen brought stevia to America. And I mean, stevia has been around for 5,000 years, and the cultures that used stevia had no dental caries and no diabetes at all. And so the stevia from Sunrider has chrysanthemum in it, and chrysanthemum helps keep your blood sugars nice and level. So oftentimes when you're working out, you need to make sure that your blood sugars are right. Especially if you're, working very hard and your adrenals are struggling. So I tell all my patients to use Dr. Chen's Sunrider, the Sun Care stevia. And I could probably talk a whole hour just about how wonderful that is. So I use the Nu Plus with the stevia, and I don't put too many fruits in it. Just some berries maybe, or sometimes just straight. But and then I also use the Fortune Delight, and Fortune Delight I'll put that in my water bottle, like my Hydro Flask, and I make it a little bit more dilute. Put a couple drops of stevia in there, and so I'll be drinking that during my workout and after my workout. I think that stuff is amazing. So and then Metashaper is good. Sometimes the individual formulas that they have, sports caps, those kinds of things, but I haven't really been doing them very much lately. Maybe I should. Is that helpful?
Very, very helpful. And okay. What is it you have now, like 3 or 4 black belts?
Yeah, I'm working towards my 4th degree black belt in Fudoshin Jiu-Jitsu, which is really wonderful. I also used to go to, Fairtex Muay Thai boxing down there, and got my shorts, but they wouldn't let me go into the ring to compete because they said, "You doctor, you need brain." So I did, some, amateur type stuff, but I ended up taking care of a lot of the boxers after they came out of the ring. But yeah, I like that Muay Thai boxing is good, and so I sort of teach it now. But I do a lot of the jiu-jitsu, and that's what my first love is. And Dr. Chen, he was always telling me, "Dan, you need to do Aikido." And I'm going, "Well, I like jiu-jitsu." And so every time he would see my mother, like in China or something, he'd say, "Is Dan doing Aikido yet?" But he'd be pleased to know that the jiu-jitsu form that I study incorporates a lot of Aikido in it. The whole 6th level is pretty much Aikido. So I always think about him with that.
That's awesome. Well, you are the real deal, Dan. You're a naturopathic doctor in Chinese medicine. You do acupuncture. You understand the 5 elements. You understand nutrition. You understand medicinal herbs. You're into martial arts. You eat Sunrider. You are like a what Kathy say, like a shaman in Chinese medicine. And I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us today and your expertise and your testimony about Sunrider Foods. It's been awesome. So does anybody else have another question? You can unmute yourself by going to the right-hand corner of your screen, unmute yourself and ask Dan a question? Nope.
I just wanted to say thank you so much. It's an honor to have been on this call and to have met you. And I really love the body as a machine, body as a garden. I had never heard that before. That's phenomenal. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you. Whose comment was that? Can you say your name?
That was Diana Walker. Thanks,
you,
Jackie. Thank you,
Thank
Jackie.
you so much. Okay, anybody else have another question? Well, I guess we can let you get back to your family, Dan, up there in Alaska.
Sure.
Dan has a huge family. How many children do you have now?
Well, Jen had 6. I have 2. We have an 8-year-old between us. So there's 9 of us.
So, and Micaiah, the youngest, she loves sun bars.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Every time we go to church, if I forget a sun bar, I'm going to hear about it.
What's her favorite now? Is it
She
fruit?
likes a chocolate sun bar, yeah.
Chocolate sun bar. That's
Oh,
cute.
and she likes those, the gummies, the,
Smart gummies.
yeah, yeah. She really loves those. Like she'll eat the whole can if I watch her.
And
Yeah.
she's into martial arts too, isn't she?
Well, actually, she's doing hockey now.
Oh, hockey. That's cool.
And, you know, between horseback riding and hockey, and actually, she's really dramatic. And so her mom is going to put her in a drama class. I'm going, why does she need a drama class? Anyway, she's a sweetheart.
And your son is into hockey too, right?
Yeah, my 17-year-old is a very, very good hockey player, and a good skier, and straight A student.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank
He
you
drinks
again.
Fortune Delight.
He drinks Fortune Delight. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Helps him like after his game or before his game or.
Yeah, before and after. He's, you know, I mean, he's a teenager, right? So, I mean, they'll complain about everything and they'll say, well, why don't you take this to help? And they say, oh, no, don't worry about it. So I'm going, well, it's not really that much of a problem. So when a teenager goes and makes himself a Fortune Delight, that's a pretty big statement. So, you know, and he does that a lot. And, you know, as I was hearing some of your comments, you know, the bottom line is it has to do with cellular aging. So if you use the Sunrider products, it slows down the aging process for each and individual cell that has its own intelligence. And so if you eat that food and eat healthy, in addition to a good diet, you know, fresh fruits and vegetables and all those things, right, that we talk about. But Sunrider is amazing at slowing down the aging process. And in China, you know, people all drink green tea and they eat well and they live to be 100. Here in America, we all drink 3 triple lattes a day and eat terribly and die when we're 75 if we're lucky. So, I mean, cellular aging is a big deal. And so the philosophy of regeneration is so critical for that. So I meant to say that earlier, but I just remembered. So
That's perfect.
Yeah.
And on that note, I guess we'll end this meeting. And again, Dan, thank you so much for doing this. It was excellent. You're so knowledgeable in so many areas. And I really appreciate you.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you, everybody. Thank you,
Okay.
everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Have a good day, guys.